Good morning. Today I did this draw at 6:44 a.m., which gives us a 1-4 energy, which is equal to a 5. So some divine intervention, chaos on a Sunday. Today is Sunday. Today is March the 9th, 2025, which is going to give us a 2-1 energy or a 3, and the overall for a 2-0 energy, just to kind of give you all the numerology for those of you who are numerologists and want the information. Today, I am using the Rider-Waite deck, and as I said, I'm getting ready to move, and tomorrow I do move. And as a result, I might not be online for a few days until my internet is properly installed. I will provide a reading tomorrow, and after that, it's up in the air. The beads for today are Sunstone for leadership, Topaz for honor, Tiger's Eye for personal empowerment and clarity, Helidor for positivity and warmth, and Amber for calming and uplifting energy. And please keep in mind to wear black, I can't think of black tourmaline, anything black, lava, anything black to kind of help ward yourself from this really kind of difficult energy we find ourselves in. Now we have a Major Arcana paired up with a general card, and this is a Decan walk, 36 faces, a Golden Dawn system. So if you are unfamiliar, please do look it up. This reading today involves the Hangman, all things Neptunian, and consciousness transcended, paired with the Eight of Pentacles, the earth-based energy relating to the 6th house of Virgo, and the first decan, the Sun. The two major arcanas being the Sun and the Hermit. So the Sun coming up several times. And what is the Sun in astrology? It's how we see ourselves. It's our ego. It's how we manage. What is happening today? Well, we are being asked to surrender and awaken. A shift in our perspective, transcending ego to connect with higher consciousness, our intuitions on a high alert as boundaries have been blurred. We have a mass emotional intensity meeting up with transformative, deep needs for release and breakthroughs. We are learning to speak up at this time and must avoid impulsiveness. Many feeling quite emotionally charged, including myself. This has been a time where I must admit that I thought I was awakened and I thought I was spiritually enlightened. And I am going through an enlightening period right now that is difficult, disturbing, and kind of shaking me at my core in some ways. Many will gather and stand against what they view as oppression at this time and misinformation. Reflections of our inner and outer taking place. Many of us feeling disillusioned, thinking that we did certain things. And I'm going to speak specifically to a group of people that are really not where I stand, but those of you who voted for a certain person, perhaps believing that any and all punishments would come to someone like myself. This is a deep social divide. And we can see just how entrenched many are as we witness the unbelievable actions on the part of what we understood as our federal government and system. The current administration appears to be isolating and punishing a certain segment of society based upon the accusation of fraud, waste, and abuse. Those believing themselves to be separate, believing that the collective responsibility says that it is you over there that voted a different way than me that needs to be punished and not me. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you will share with this pain. There is an emphasis where we will see the self-centered nature transcend into interconnectedness. Those who feel entitled at this time, you see, I have to go through this to understand the roots and the strategies that have taken place and the mass division underway. To foster empathy and accountability requires education and unity. Those who have shared energy of superiority, fostering threats towards anyone they deemed as marginalized. Right being prioritized and attacks and harms being okay due to dehumanization. This was, in fact, what happened in the lead up to World War II. The suggestible being easy to manipulate so that power can be consolidated. Words like vermin, the enemy within, devalues our human condition, creating detriment and diffusion. We don't know who we are when we're being told we aren't worthy of life. And who decides that? Who made you? What do you know about it anyway? Because we're all here having a Christ conscious experience. And for you to deem that my Christ conscious experience is better than yours or more important than yours and that I should be eliminated, a real question about your morality. Well, what do we have? We have an Eight of Pentacles, an earth-based energy, the Sun and Hermit, where we are being asked to look within and decide based upon the details how we really do see things. Is it true? Do I want to harm someone else? Ask yourself that question if you're voting in a position that you believe you're right and everybody else is wrong. Ask yourself what that is. Individuals at this time in denial of the historic responsibilities we have, justifying harmful actions, aligning with authoritarianism, leaders with promises of protection or superiority, operating on grievance basis, prioritizing their own stability over others, normalizing of hate speech, scapegoating, has undermined empathy and fostered polarizations. This is a precursor to the violence that could be unleashed upon all of us. The normalization of hatred, this place of deep social fragmentation, requires us to address through education, critical thinking, and stepping into proper personal reflection of our shared humanity so that we may understand the red flags flashing in our faces. Empathy is required to stop the harm. Fascist leaders use dehumanizing language. Extreme behavior can and will become dangerous if allowed to continue unchecked. This strategy has been used before. lines get blurred. The idea that we, the people, will go along with this is blindly very false, and thank goodness. Small red communities whose funding often depends upon federal projects may now fully understand how they might have cut off their own nose in spite of their face. Now, I'm going to explain something to those of you who were in those little red communities when we were in the federal government working for the process. During the Reagan administration, for every 4 jobs, it was rolled down into 1 job. So for every 4, 1 person remained and had to accept the responsibilities of 4 separate jobs. And currently, we're being asked, now we're not in federal service anymore, the people to again reduce for every 4 people to accept the responsibility of 4 jobs again. That is now 8 jobs for 1 person. And I can tell you that we often were treated quite poorly in the red community we lived in, being told to get out of our child's basketball game, for instance, and told that we're so lazy we don't belong. So this is a massive disconnect in perceptions and reality. Small red towns benefiting disproportionately from federal programs. This is what's keeping your lights on in your communities. It's what's keeping food on the shelves and your grocery store open. But as this mass contradiction continues, you will see, likely in the worst kind of ways, how your communities, these little red communities, are going to be the target of the lack of funds. And yet it is these little red communities that have been the target of mass hate. I know for myself, I couldn't leave the community I was in fast enough. I was just sick of it, as well I should have been, because there's no laziness here when you're doing 4 times the amount of work and now they want you to do 8 times. That's not lazy. And if you work for the federal government, you're punching a time clock and answering to someone, just like if you were working at McDonald's or anywhere else. And you have responsibilities and accountability, and you better answer to it or you're going to be gone. So with that, do keep this all in mind. The federal employees are not your enemy. Start using your critical mind. They're Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and whatever this energy is, using them as the national scapegoat along with LGBTQ or brown people or whoever else. Stop using this cheap way out to think of yourself as better than someone else, because quite frankly, you're not. And the more you think like that, the less you deserve to be here versus somebody else. And I'm sorry, but it's just rude. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for being here.